Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life, and I welcome you guys to the Wireless Weekly Recap. This is episode 21. And if you're new to the channel, the Wireless Weekly Recap, it's where we recap stuff that happened throughout the week, talk about new topics maybe, or just recap some of the old ones. So one thing that I wanted to bring to the channel, that Sensorly is no longer going to update their coverage map, their crowdsourced coverage map, and they're pretty much gonna remove everything from the App Store, the Google Play Store, and of course the internet. So here in this small letter, they are saying, hey, goodbye. This is after 9 years, we are no longer gonna support any of the Sensorly products. So if you guys were using this as a unbiased real world mobile coverage map, at this point, I just wouldn't really look much into it anymore because there just aren't any new updates being updated after this last one that just came out. So if I were you guys, I would probably look at more of the maps that RootMetrics is displaying on their app. That's much more accurate than anything that Sensorly is putting out. Of course, the crowdsourced maps aren't as accurate, but they give you an idea of how coverage is around your area or maybe some areas that you're traveling to in the future. So I just wanted to bring this as the first topic, just to let you guys know that Sensorly will no longer support any of their products going forward. That's the application and the offline maps. So on to the next topic, which is a big one currently. AT&T again is going to price hike, which is coming next month, and the base package to cost $65. Now, a few things that I want to say about this. Like I said, I have a few sources. This will all make sense come November. There are going to be some big announcements in November, so stay tuned to the channel. Of course, the channel is going to report it, but October 29th is going to be the first one. That's already an official date. That's when the unveiling of the HBO Max services are going to be revealed. They are going to, show how the product functions, show the the interface, the UI, and of course how they are going to make that product pop in the future in terms of content. So I'm sure there's going to be future content being displayed, and some trailers are going to come out at that show. And then of course we're going to hear some pricing. And then later on that week, probably the second to third week in November, there are going to be more announcements coming from AT&T, and it'll all make sense in the future. So again, AT&T always price hike. They are the premium product. They have the bigger networks. They have the content. So, what else do you expect? It's always been like this. I tell people, you got to pay to play. You want to watch that content and they charge you that much for it, you got to pay it. If you want to go to another provider, AT&T at that point is fine with it. They want the customer that's willing to pay the price after the promotional period. That's what's going to increase the ARPU. That's what's going to pay them the initial profit increase over time, and it's going to allow the company to grow. So that's just basing off of the fact that they just, not too long ago, closed on an $85 billion merger with Time Warner. So of course they got to make back some of that return on investment. So they are going to start really aggressively pricing the content side. And I hope that they clear some of that confusion with all of the TV Now, Uverse, DirecTV. I hope they just bring it all under one roof and then price it accordingly. Of course, there will still be promotional offerings for new customers, but this will also affect the grandfathered plans, which I assume most plans in the future are going to change, even the grandfathered ones, which is going to tick people off. But it's just the name of the game, and that's how the business goes. So let me know in the comment section down below if you are on AT&T and you would be switching if they changed your grandfathered plan. I think most will, but again, AT&T is willing to lose those customers because they want the ones that are going to pay for the product after the promotional period. So the next topic that I want to speak about, which is a tricky one. So The title of this one is 5G wireless is coming, but a payoff for AT&T, Verizon, and other telecompanies might not be so great. And the reason that is, again, 5G is very expensive. A lot of people don't know how expensive 5G really is. So just to give you guys an example, one of the millimeter wave antennas, if you've seen them, they're very small and squared. And if they're going on a macro site or a C-RAN or whatever, that panel for one sector is $150,000. Just one sector. Most companies on average on a macro site have 3 sectors. So you could do the math on how expensive it is just to upgrade one cell site with 5G. And that doesn't include the dark fiber backhaul that has to be added to the cell site to provide the gigabit speeds that you will see and the latency that you will see with 5G. So 5G is going to be an insane investment over time for the carriers. So again, I'm hearing throughout the industry that there are a lot of talks about how to monetize the 5G services. Some say it could be in the latency. If you want lower latency, you got to pay for it. I reported it on the channel, and I'm sure you guys have heard it, but there have been talks of tiered plans, kind of like Wi-Fi. So now the talks are heating up, and probably in another more detailed video, I'll let you guys know, but there are QCI priorities that these carriers place on the different cores of networks. So there's a QCI priority for prepaid, like Metro, PCS, Cricket. Of course, those guys don't have the same access as postpaid, because then there would be no difference and everybody would probably just go to prepaid. So, and then there are different priority QCI levels for the FirstNet, first responders. And you know, that's with any network. Verizon and they have a higher priority for their first responders too, wherever the incident is happening at that time. But AT&T has, I think, the best separation in cores in terms of how they separate the network. So they say, okay, prepaid gets this core, Cricket gets this core, the consumer gets this QCI level, and then the first responders and the business side, they get this priority. So FirstNet and business customers for AT&T, they get a higher priority QCI level. So if you were a consumer and you ran a speed test against a business plan person, they would have a faster speed in the same area because they get a higher QCI priority. And that's how the carriers prioritize the different cores on the network. Now, Verizon and T-Mobile have heavily relied on the deprioritization, and they put together heavy network management to prioritize the customer that is over the threshold of the 50 gigabytes, the 22, or the 75 for the highest plan on Verizon. It seems that AT&T is just better at handling it. And I'll probably make another video on a separate day, because I had asked a buddy of mine, I said, if you use, because if you guys remember the video that I made where I used 200 gigabytes for the month on my AT&T wireless, and I asked him, I said, if you use that same 200 on another network like Verizon, T-Mobile, are you going to get the same experience as I did on AT&T, where I had hardly any slowdown, I had no slowdown. I was streaming just fine. The AT&T TV app is included in terms of not counting towards the data on the plan. So I had no problem streaming that. Same with YouTube or the Apple Music app that I use. I had no issues with it. But I asked, can you make that same level of usage on another carrier and have that same experience? And a lot of people have been answering no. They've been saying that Verizon and T-Mobile has such high of network traffic management that they probably wouldn't even allow you to have that high of usage on the plan, because the network would be too slow at some point on the deprioritization, where you wouldn't probably use it during any peak hours. So that's definitely a video that's coming in the future, and going more into detail on how the QCI levels work. But AT&T is the best at the QCIs. So their prepaid has a QCI, the consumer level is of course higher QCI'd, and then the business preferred and the FirstNets, they have the higher QCI levels in terms of priority. So of course there is network management for AT&T, but based on the amount of spectrum that they have and how they handle the network, and you know, in some cities they have their own fiber, so they run the network at pretty high backhaul, and most markets are running 4, 5, 6, some running 7 carriers of LTE, where congestion is not that big of an issue for AT&T, and them allowing you to run that high of gigabyte usage for that month and still have no issues. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that here towards the end of the video briefly. I will get into this in more detail here in the coming weeks. Like I said, just be tuned for November. It's going to be a big month. There are going to be some announcements made that I will report on the channel. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. I hope you enjoyed episode 21. I look forward to doing episode 22 next weekend. Hopefully we'll get some more news on the merger this week, that the states dropped a lawsuit. That would be great, because then the companies could go full throttle on integrating the networks already. So if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload content. Also follow all of my social media outlets for more updates, especially my Instagram. I'm going on the trip October 31st. That's where I will mostly post the comparisons between T-Mobile and AT&T. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.